Welcome back, beautiful people of the podcasting universe and world. My name is Frankie Rodriguez, and this is the Three Amigos podcast. And we're three for three today. We got Anthony Olan on deck, Christopher Langsdorff. We're diving in right now. We're going to talk about a little bit late news, but also just kind of our thoughts, our geeky, nerdy thoughts of just from us, the Three Amigos. We're going to talk about the MCU and the state of the MCU, basically. Uh, what do we think so far? Now that there's a new phase coming in the current phase, which is phase four, and phase five basically starting up in early 2023, phase four ending with Black Panther. So we did see the trailer. We could also talk about our thoughts about that too, because we didn't do a reaction podcast on that. We haven't done a lot because there was a lot going on with San Diego Comic-Con. I got married that day. There was way too much shit to cover. I was too busy with other shit. So guys, what are our thoughts on phase four and the announcements of phase five, phase six? We don't have to get into all of it today. Honestly, prefer let's chop it up and let's talk phase four and five.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I don't know about you guys, but I had no idea that Phase 4 ended with Black Panther. Did you
I'm
guys
not
know that?
No, because they never really tell you, or they made it pretty adamant, or not adamant. They never really last year say when even Black Panther was going to come out and what was going to end phase four. So that's a given. That was never stated. That was never said.
So I'm looking here. It looks like Fantastic Four is actually going to end Phase 4, is it not?
Not anymore.
No.
They changed it. Oh, that was my next point, is that they changed it because Black Panther was supposed to come out earlier this year and then delays and whatnot.
Well, yeah, because Shuri got her, or Latia, right? And also because she's an anti-vaxxer.
Quote unquote injured.
Yeah.
So they changed Phase 4 around a bit. Yeah, I was kind of wondering, like, I don't know. I skip a lot of Marvel movies. Of Phase 4, I guess I saw most of them. I saw Shang-Chi. I saw Eternals. I saw me and Frankie went to see Doctor Strange,
I still haven't
and
seen Eternals.
skipped all the other ones. So I didn't see Thor. I didn't see Black Widow. I guess I skipped a lot of the shows as well. Hawkeye and whatever her name is, little Hawkeye Jr. I'm not gonna watch She-Hulk. I didn't watch Miss Marvel.
You should.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm having trouble. You know what? I don't know, man. I feel kind of ripped off of Phase 4 the whole time.
Mhm.
I remember bringing this up to a friend of mine, and I was like, it's because her boyfriend likes the Marvel movies a lot, and I was like, yeah, I like go to them, but I kind of don't really know where this phase is headed. Like, and it was kind of weird because it had been a few movies, and I'm like, damn, we're already past Doctor Strange. Like, is there a bad guy in Phase 4? Because
Right, I get it.
feels
Yeah.
like they're just kind of doing movies with no real like game plan, no real end game.
Mhm.
No pun intended. But previous phases always was like, this is building towards something. And kind of weird, gonna be honest, that there's no Avengers movie in Phase 4. Just kind of made me feel like,
Oh yeah.
I guess I was right. It wasn't leading towards anything. It was just like I mean, I mentioned this to Frankie. I don't know if this is a hot take. They did a whole phase of filler. It's a whole phase of stuff I mean, not including Wakanda Forever. It's kind of a whole phase of stuff that isn't that important. Like the
Yeah.
Eternals, have they even referenced the fact that there's still like a fucking giant god's hand sticking out of planet Earth? Like,
Spoiler.
Honestly,
it feels like I don't know. I'm probably a little like hard on Marvel, but it feels like they're getting a little sloppy. I'll be honest though, it does feel like some of the diehard fans are starting to get a little bit burnt out with like
I
the
think so.
jokes and just like the writing not being that good and the CGI, which is it's turning into a whole other drama
It's turned into a meme.
situation.
Yeah.
With like VFX artists coming out and saying that Marvel's like, treating them like slaves and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. Phase 4, I thought was pretty terrible. I feel sort of ripped off because none of this shit really mattered. The only movie that I think is probably going to matter at all is Black Panther 2.
Yep.
And now it's over. And it kind of like was out of nowhere. They were like, oh yeah, it ends with Black Panther. We
Yeah,
were like,
they definitely
what?
made that announcement last weekend, saying
Yeah,
like, yeah,
like
it's gonna end with them.
weird. Oh, I guess Spider-Man. I don't know. I consider Spider-Man like his own like entity because he's like kind of stuck between Sony and Marvel.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's like the divorced parents case. Yeah,
so I
share custody.
guess that sort of counts as a Phase 4 movie, even though
Yeah.
Spider-Man had like his own sort of trilogy going on.
Hmm.
I don't know. What do you guys think about what they did with Phase 4? And then I guess we'll talk about the future.
Go ahead, Ant.
I guess I'm just like kind of lost on everything within Phase 4 because I haven't really been caring about their Disney Plus shows, honestly. And then with the movies that they've been releasing, I don't know how I made it through Black Widow, but I made it through Black Widow. Haven't seen Eternals. I didn't hate the new Thor, and I didn't love it as much as three, but I liked it. It was it was good.
Yeah.
But I don't know what like as you said, like the other movies were like leading towards something major, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And even some of the end credits will have like Thanos will be in an end credit or something.
Yep.
Um, and I think when they ended Endgame and they had the main team members with their signatures on the screen was like, this is the end of it all. Like, there's no more. Like, oh no, we're doing a lot more for Kang. I don't know how great of a character Kang is in the comics or not, but like, I don't know. I think Thanos for me was like that was it. Like the big bad, the Infinity Stones, and everything. For me, it's just like, who cares about what's going on now? I know you guys. I know Frankie enjoyed Moon Knight. I don't know about you, Chris, if you enjoyed Moon Knight or not.
Yeah, it was all right. I mean, I enjoyed it
Um,
because Oscar Isaac's amazing and handsome, but I
Hmm.
thought like, yeah, I mean, I mean, Frankie and I talked about this a bit. I can't remember if we did a podcast about this, but Moon Knight felt like a show that was a Netflix show that got trapped on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So,
like I got maybe three or so episodes in, and I just didn't care.
damn, bro, you stopped like right before the show fucking went off the rails, like right before things got insane. But yeah,
Like I think the last thing I saw, he separated from the whatever the name of the guy God thing was. I don't remember his name.
Conchu.
Yeah, he separated from Khonshu. That's where I stopped watching. And then I'm on episode 5 of Miss Marvel, but I'm kind of just like, I don't know, just I don't. I guess I don't care. Like I don't know.
yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
I really don't
Maybe we're outgrowing
care.
Marvel, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. I think as much as I enjoyed the jokes myself, like for Thor, like of course looking back at it, it was like it's just a movie that I needed. I think some people needed just to make them feel better about themselves because the world is a dark place, and that movie made me feel just some kind of glimmer of hope, and it just made me laugh.
Especially Valkyrie. Like I love Tessa Thompson and her as Valkyrie was just like that was for me that was like one of the best parts of the whole movies, just her being her, like
Sure,
yeah.
sure.
Like I've heard people bring this up though, of like if you go back and look at scenes from Infinity War Thor, and then you look at what Taika Waititi did to Thor, it's like a completely different character, and I don't know if it's in a good way. Like in Infinity War, and I guess sort of Endgame, even though they started to turn him into kind of a comedy act, he was like pretty badass character. And like then at the end of Infinity War, he was like living with this guilt of like being the one that screwed everything up.
Hmm.
And now he's like a stand-up comedian. And he's like a dumb goofball. I'm just like, is this Thor? Like this is becoming a very weird interpretation of one of the most powerful characters. I also
Yeah.
saw like Taika Waititi was like, yeah, if I ever did a fifth Thor movie, it would be him on a road trip. I'm like, what? No, what are you doing? No, you gotta go, man. It's getting a little too campy. It's getting a little too
Yeah, because that's probably the thing of like, oh, because I don't know how much time has passed since Endgame in their timeline, but it's
yeah.
like has enough time passed for Thor to finally just find peace and relax and stuff like that.
Yeah, the Thor that I feel like exists now is the one that existed in the What If episode, where he was just like a big goofball and like didn't really care about anything. I'm like, those are supposed to be two different versions of Thor, but they kind of, while they're from two different universes, they're the same character wise. I don't know. I Phase Four just kind of, I don't know if we're outgrowing it. To me, it just feels like they're getting really overexposed. Like a lot of the CGI doesn't look good. A lot of the writing, which I don't know if it's ever been that good, is now like on fuller display just because there's so much material out there now.
I think
And
they're getting, too ahead of themselves for sure at some points. I think with Phase 4, you're seeing more cracks in their holes. I don't know what it is that made the first original, like, core of Avengers work. Um, they
they're
have so much to work with now. They have so much to work with and so much potential, but that's what it's all been. Like, it's kind of like with the show What If. Like, there's so much what ifs because
yeah,
they could have let Raimi be more of himself and do something with Doctor Strange. But then again, I'm sure would have upset people either way because it was too scary, according to them. Um, it's just like there's something missing there that wasn't there maybe with the original. Maybe because we're not a surprise anymore because we're expecting a surprise and the surprise isn't there. There's just something there that's like not that's lacking. I don't know. I personally don't mind Taika's like take on it. It's very like daring to like break the mold of a character that's pretty much that is beloved universally from the comics and on screen by the MCU fans and the Marvel comic fans. So I applaud him for doing that. Is it going to continue for the long run? Probably because Marvel is Marvel and they see dollar signs. They don't care overall of the character structure. What they do care is what they're selling. Like, let's face it. Like, I'm sure they did care Chadwick Boseman passed away, but at the end of the day, they want to get one of their best properties to milk another $1 billion.
yeah.
Now they have to figure out how to do that. And
Well,
whether it's like, giving it to a female lead or a different male lead, bringing back Michael B. Jordan, we don't know. It's
That's
like,
like that post I saw where they were like, some people wanted him to be recast because they felt that even though Chadwick passed, T'Challa didn't die. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. I don't know how I
that's a
think
different
about
topic. I
it.
think we
Like,
should definitely
it's
like we could go.
complicated, man. That's complicated.
It's very complicated,
Yeah.
and that's something that I think we could definitely talk about on a solo or on a different podcast on itself because that would take a long time.
Yeah, maybe when Black Panther's like closer to coming out, we'll like revisit that.
Yeah,
I was gonna mention something that I had kind of noticed when it happened, like when it first happened. So like Kang or a descendant of Kang or a older version of him, I don't know, debuts in Loki. Spoiler, I guess the show's like fucking came out last year. But debuts at the end of Loki, Jonathan Majors. And it's hard to not draw comparisons, but we were told like Kang is that's like the new big villain
yeah,
forward. It's gonna be Kang. No, what look, nobody, a lot of casual people did not know who Thanos was. If you think they're
oh
gonna
yeah,
know who Kang the Conqueror is, you are really trusting your fan base.
hmm
But one of the things that I was a little confused about from the beginning was that when the main villain was going to be Thanos, he showed up a lot before
yeah,
he was in an Avengers movie, like before they actually fought him. And Kang was sort of in the end of Loki, depending on what version of him you think that was.
right,
But since that show, he has not been visible at all. There has been no mention of this character in any of the movies, none of the end credit scenes at all. They've done like 6 movies in Phase 4. I mean, unless he shows up at the end of Black Panther 2, it's kind of weird to have this person like that you are saying is basically Thanos 2.0, like this is the new big bad, except you didn't use him in anything.
yeah.
And you're gonna put him in Ant-Man 3? Like, I mean, like,
Mm.
no offense, but that's the movie you choose to debut Kang the Conqueror in. For those of you who don't know, Kang is a descendant of Reed Richards, and he like exists in the year 3000. It's a very cool character, like time travels and all that, super powerful, really
Yeah.
massive asshole.
see, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I
so
don't
I was
know.
kind of surprised he wasn't going to be in Fantastic Four. But on that note, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Doctor Doom was originally supposed to be in Black Panther 2. That was going to be how they introduced
Yeah,
the
I did hear
Fantastic
about that.
Four. And there's some conflicting reports about what they're going to end up doing with Doctor Doom. I feel like that should have been the guy. Like
It should have been
they've
Doctor
had the
Doom.
rights for Fantastic Four for a while now, and they're finally going to do a movie. It felt like if you were going to do the next big bad guy, it should have been Doctor Doom. Also, because Doctor Doom is crazy powerful. Don't just go based off
Yeah,
of the really bad interpretations of him in the movies. He's like one of the most powerful characters in the MCU. Um, Kind of a bummer. I don't know. He's going to show up eventually, obviously,
hmm
now that they have that property back. It's just kind of weird. And Jonathan Majors is a great actor. I just don't know if Kang, especially the way they've handled him so far. I don't know how I'm feeling about Phase 5. I'm excited for Black Panther 2, but going forward, I mentioned this to that same friend I mentioned earlier, but like, I need Avengers movies. Like, if this shit is not leading towards like a team up, it's really hard for me to get invested. Like, the Marvel like philosophy that they showed for the last 10 years was team up movies. It was like
sure.
there's a bunch of solo movies and then they all team up, and then there's a bunch of solo movies and then they all team up, and like that was their thing, and now they didn't do it. And I'm like, whoa, so like how long are any of these people gonna be in the next team up movie? Like, I mean, it's gonna be a while before the next Avengers movie. So I don't know. I'm feeling not I'm like hopeful because X-Men and Fantastic Four are going to be all
Sure.
part of the next couple fight phases, but it just doesn't feel like there's as sharp a plan as there was when they were first, uh, getting the names out there about all these heroes that had never had their own movies.
It's like this thing. I don't remember where it was like coming from, like the idea, but like you meant, how like we know making these movies are not easy in terms of like, getting the good story and good plot, having it make sense with everything else, and then all the things that goes into production. But it's easy in the mindset of you have enough material out there that exists to be able to do justice to these movies and make it make sense and entertain them. Like I just said, Doctor Doom, there is so many ways they can probably bring him in as a big bad for the next phase or whatever. They just have to get the source material and look at it and refer to it. But it's kind of like, well, we think this would be better, and we're not going to really explain how this is going to make sense. Like the whole Loki shit with that, what is it? The multiverse was like cracking or whatever,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
the Spider-Man thing, and it's like, are we just going to forget the fact that Loki is technically dead because of Thanos, but he's alive through time? Like, does any of this shit make sense anymore? Because it doesn't really make sense to me. Like, I don't know how they're
It's
gonna.
like
That's all
it
this.
makes yes and it's like yes and no. It's like yes and no because like they can do whatever the hell they want. They invented time travel because to end the last uh phase, which was phase 3. And from there on forth, like they've just been kind of like making that shit up as they go. If it was pre-planned, and I would love to for an article or video to be like made that yeah we after the second Avengers movie we kind of figured out how it was gonna end, and that's quite possible. But then like would they admit that we knew what it was that we had a plan? And even then, they don't have to tell the truth. They could completely lie and say yeah
Sure.
we didn't have anything planned. We just kind of do it as we go. And the only thing that was planned was like these properties were going to be made, these characters, these identities were going to be made. Shang-Chi, Fantastic Four, and you know, there's a lot to be excited for maybe the casual viewer or for even the person who's still sticking with them. I know for some, especially my comic book buddies, it's a mixed bag. Some of them are done with it, some of them don't care, some of them will continue to just watch because it's fun entertainment. For me, yeah, that's what it is. It's fun entertainment. Even when it's not that, it's not the best for me. Black Widow was rough. Eternals was fine. I didn't think it was that bad, but it was definitely, in my opinion, I thought it was better than Black Widow. And I've been able to sit through them, luckily for me, because my attention span can somehow last this stuff. Except for when I saw Thor 2, I could not. That movie put me to sleep. So it's it's tough because like these movies do bring something out of me at least, and I feel like and a lot of people, because they're still making millions of fucking dollars. They're still
Oh
making
man,
money.
when Reed Richards shows up in Doctor Strange, that was like the most excited I remember being watching
I
a
think I was more
superhero.
excited about that than I was when the two Spider-Men are coming, because that was completely ruined. Obviously, that was
Yeah, dude, there's so few moments now, but like that was one of like legitimate holy shit, and because
yeah,
of who they got to play the role, it was just
yeah.
like
They really fan casted that
no
shit. So
fucking way.
yeah,
Like that was awesome.
and then Kevin Feige proceeded to have him killed. So
I was gonna say though, like back to what you were saying about like planning and whatnot. Feige is such a good planner, and I think that's what's made
I think
Phase
he's just.
Four
I
so
think
frustrating.
I
Is
know
like it doesn't feel like it was. I know the pandemic really fucked everything.
that's
It
true.
really fucked everything. Not to mention the passing of Chadwick Boseman,
Yep.
devastating just on a human level, and then obviously Marvel having to somehow figure out how do we make a second movie with a character that's alive and the actor that played him is gone.
Hmm.
So a lot of stuff got fucked up during this phase, but it just feels like there was never a conclusion. Like they're ending phase four on a sequel to a solo film. It
Yeah.
just I don't know. It feels kind of like Anthony said, like, I mean, what it Fantastic Four would have been a cool place to end it, slash, like, what was that? Spider-Man, like Far From Home or something, was like
No way
technically
home.
the end of phase three, but like
No way
also
home.
leading into the next phase.
Yeah. Far From Home was the end of that phase.
Yeah, where he like came back from the snap and Tony
Yeah.
Stark like processed him passing away.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that
That.
could have been like a cool thing to do with Fantastic Four, but it feels weird
Yeah.
because I love the Avengers movies except for the second one.
Yeah.
Maybe if I went back and watched it, it wasn't as bad. But I think those movies are so much fun, and it really feels like you are rewarded for seeing the
For sure.
like, admittedly not as good solo films.
Hmm.
But that was like I always thought that was part of the game. Was like, yeah, you go see the solo movies because then they're gonna team up, and you'd be like, oh, this is sick. But now, like we were talking about, there's so many characters now where it's like, are they all gonna team? Like, is Miss Marvel and Moon Knight, like, are they gonna show it? Like, Deadpool 3 wasn't part
Yeah.
of phase 5 or 6, so I don't know where that is. I guess that's just not part of the MCU. That's just gonna be like his own thing. Like,
Yeah.
where are the X-Men? There's just like I have a lot of questions about like
So with that, like, I completely agree with you. Like, there is a lot of questions. I applaud everyone who's excited. I am excited still for all this stuff that's coming and announced, because like there is still potential. They're hobbling to the finish line, but there's momentum for them to pick it up and end well. And obviously with Black Panther, like I hate to say it, I have high expectations now in a way, but I also want to keep them low just because like it's so tough in the position that they're in. And like you said, you made great points. Like, there is reasons why maybe things are a little bit off now because of the pandemic. It threw everything out of whack. People passing away. It's not ideal for them, but they could definitely, in my opinion, for me at least, they could, if they can come back with those surprises that were catching everybody originally in these next couple movies that they put out, and start tying things finally together. Because at this point, they're just not tying anything together. Really, they're not. They're like they're sprinkling it in, but it's so hard because we don't know why. Either they didn't have anything planned, or because they just fumbled it, and that's okay. They fumbled it, but they should admit it in a way or just say it. I don't know. But to add also to what you said, Chris, in terms of like where is the X-Men are at, I wasn't planning on talking about it too much, and I guess we'll end it on this for our next round, because I'll try to find the stuff and send it to you guys. X-Men and anything mutant related, they can only talk about it a little bit right now because I think when they purchased Fox, the contracts were still they're technically still paying, I think, some of like the lead actors from Fox. So that includes like uh some of the original cast from X-Men. So that would include Hugh Jackman. And so, but they're trying to let those contracts expire so they can recast. So that's where it's like they're stuck in limbo with that, which is very unfortunate. So that's what I heard. But they're
I did
planning
hear
on
about
keeping
that.
Ryan
Yeah.
Reynolds. They're planning on using him, obviously. But yeah, like the fact that they haven't announced where he's going to be is kind of just like, ugh, like what, like come on guys, like just either just make it PG-13 and just like kill us already, because we know you're either gonna do rated R or you're gonna make it PG, like, or PG-13. Like, come
I
on.
was gonna say though, I think the reason that it's not part of Phase 5 and 6 is that Deadpool is not gonna be allowed to be part of the MCU. Like
Probably not.
I think the trade-off is gonna be you can keep making the R-rated movies. Spider-Man's not gonna be in them. Wolverine's not gonna be like you're not
Mhm.
gonna get any characters that we plan on using in the MCU.
Yeah.
So you can, unless you want to do it PG-13, and then we'll let those characters interact with Deadpool. But otherwise, like, kind of feel like they're gonna maybe that's where like they're compromising.
Yeah.
Also, kind of feels like a wasted opportunity because in the comics, Deadpool and Thanos had a fight over death, and you
Yeah.
know, it'd be
Deadpool
cool to see him.
and Black Panther had a fun team up that I loved, and I got the writer and the artist to sign my comic. It was a really good
Nice.
one.
I just
But
want Deadpool and Spider-Man to team up, and I feel
not
like
gonna happen. Sorry, buddy. But that's all the time we have for right now, beautiful people. Next up, we'll talk more about why we love the MCU and why Kevin Feige is the greatest person of all time. Just kidding. But that's pretty much it for today, beautiful people. Thank you so much for listening. We're probably going to put this up on YouTube. Leave us a comment, leave us a like. Let us know what you think on the state of the MCU, because either it is really good right now for you or really bad. In this case, Chris, the person who said he was going to have nothing to say, too much to say, said a lot, and clearly said that, you know, this shit ain't good. This shit stank.
better
But
days are coming.
better days are coming, hopefully.
We're almost through Phase 4, fellas. We're almost there. At least we got a good end. We're getting a good finale.
For sure. But until then, keep it awesome, beautiful people, and we'll catch you in the next one.